We're just going to talk about, it's not really about buying a house per se, but we're going to talk about what are the best case steps you should take, to get yourself ready if you're just like a brand new immigrant to the West. So we're talking about, say, America, Europe. I think it might work in really anywhere you've got credit scores and an established mortgage industry. But we're going to talk about what you need to do to be able to buy a mortgage. And we're going to talk about why a home or a mortgage is important, and then all the steps they're going to take. The idea is this: even if you don't want to buy a house, right, all the stuff you're going to do today are going to basically set you up, right? That if you then want to do any other thing, you want to start a business or you want to basically go into, say, import, export, you would have already gotten all this documentation and your finances will be in order. So that's the cool thing about this topic today, that even if you're not going to buy the house, it's just best practice for you to get all this together, right? So I'm just going to kick off right away. Normally we talk about 30 minutes, then we take questions and answers. I've invited a few guys to join me in today as hosts. Once they come in, I will put them on as speakers and then they can talk. Sometimes Twitter Spaces just kick you off. If it does, I'll try to rejoin back. Nothing to worry about, guys. Okay, so let's just start off real quick, right? And the first thing I want to talk about is, let's say you want to emigrate to the West, but you're still in your home country, say Africa or Asia. What should you do first of all at home before you start to go out? I would say the number one thing you want to do is to first of all, have in your mind that goal that I would like to buy a home in, say, 36 months or later. There is no time limit, guys. You can choose any time limit that you want. The very first thing you have to understand is that the West goes off documentation. So you have to have documentation for everything. Back at home, if my mom gives me a loan, she doesn't sign paperwork to me, right? She basically gives me a loan and I take it and I pay her back. With the West, that may not work. The West would want to get written documentation, right? So let's assume you are leaving Nigeria to go to America, and you intend to take money from your account to buy that home in America. Let's say you have a retirement savings account and you have money in that retirement savings account. It's very important that you have the paperwork to show how the money left your retirement savings account and went into your domiciliary account in dollars. So you want to have your request to the PFA to pay, the PFA's check given to you, and then you paid it into your account. You want to have that sort of documentation to evidence how you got those funds into your domiciliary account. Because when it's in your domiciliary account, then later on you can move it from, say, Nigeria to the Americas. So you want to have that paper trail to show that this is what has happened and I've gotten the money. If your parents or if your husband, your partner, your wife is going to give you money to buy this house, same thing. You have to have a letter from that blood relation or from a friend saying, I gift this money to this person. It's a gift. Gift meaning you're not going to pay it back. It's a gift and I gift it to him. Have a letter signed, and you're going to keep that letter with you, because when you're going to see the importance of that letter when we go forward. So the key thing is this: paper trail. Have a paper trail to show how money has gone from your assets to your Nigerian bank account. If you sell your car, get a receipt. Let the person pay you a check. Pay the check into your account, right? If you sell your house or you sell land, get a receipt. Let the person pay a check into your account. Get a copy of that check and your bank statement. Let it all tie in. So when they ask you, how can you afford a $400,000 house? You can say, well, I sold my house in Nigeria, I sold my car in Nigeria, and this is what I'm using to open up this account. So the first thing we want to make sure that you guys have is to have a paper trail, especially if you're like a mother that is going on your own and then your hubby is coming later, or your partner is going alone. Make sure that you have a letter saying, this is a gift and I'm gifting this person, meaning that the money won't be called back. Have your paperwork in order. That's the first thing we want to make sure that you guys understand. Paperwork. So now, let's assume you have now landed in the West. Let's say you are in Canada or the US or in Europe. The examples I'm going to give, guys, are more to do with the United States. They may work in Canada and other parts of the West with some slight modifications, but they are all literally for the United States. But it's going to be almost the same framework. So first things first, let's just make this disclaimer. I'm not a financial analyst. I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm not asking you to buy or sell anything. This is just information, educational information from experience that I would like you guys to adopt if you can, right? So this is not a sales pitch and it's not an investment advice I'm giving to you. So first things first, what is our goal? How long should you plan to get this house? What's the minimum you should plan? Well, the best practice that I see is that you have to have 2 years tax returns to then get a first time home buyer mortgage, right? So you need 2 years of paying taxes. So that means that if you're going to get a loan, remember, if you're going to get a loan, you want to at least have 2 years tax returns. So let's just put it out there. So the very, very first thing, let's say you've landed in America, and let's be clear, you can land in America with papers, meaning that you're a legal immigrant. You can stay, you have a green card or a passport, or you can get to America and be an undocumented alien, which means you're in America, but you don't have papers, right? You don't have a green card. You're not legally allowed to work. But so let's talk about what you can do even without papers, because if you have papers, clearly you can do everything. But let's talk about what you can do even if you don't have papers, right? Number one, you can get a bank account. So the first thing, if you don't have papers, is to try to get a bank account. Most banks will ask you for a social security number, right? But in America, you can use what's called a tax identification number. So even if you're an illegal, you can apply for a tax identification number and you'll be given that TIN, the TIN. And with that TIN, you can open up a bank account in America. Very important. You can open the bank account, but you may not be able to take loans. So you'd have the bank account, you can do deposits, you can do a withdrawal, you can do a transfer, but most banks will not give you a loan with a TIN. You can only get a loan with a social security number. So if you're in America as an undocumented alien, you might not be able to get a loan, but you can have an account, right? So first things first, get the account. Now this is going to be a bit tricky, the second point I'm going to make. So I'm just going to talk about the legal immigrant guys. Get a job. It sounds, why do you need a job? Because you want to show that you are earning income for a period of time and that income is consistent and it can be traceable. So of course, if you have a job in, say, Amazon, or you have work in a bank, you can then get what's called a W-9 that shows those inflows coming into your bank account. The inflow has to go to your bank account as a direct debit. If the guy is paying you across the table, you can't use that income. You have got to evidence or show that proof of income from your employer. What does this mean? Sometimes you see a grandmother or a wife or a friend will travel to America and then be employed by the friend. Okay, the friend says, hey, you don't have papers, come and work in my office, you can do typing. It happens. When you are doing that, ensure that you are given a check or it is paid into your account as a direct deposit, as an evidence of you working. You can get what's called, if you're a contractor. So if I work for my uncle, for instance, and my uncle drives a truck, and my job is to clean the truck, put gas in the truck, book schedules and all that, you can register as a contractor to your uncle. So your uncle will then pay you if he wants to help you. He has to pay you into your account. So for those 2 years, you've got that proof that you are getting income paid into your account from your uncle as you acting as a contractor. So it's very important that you have a job, or if you are doing a job, that you are paid for that job. If you are babysitting, back at home in Nigeria, we babysit, we don't charge anyone to babysit. You bring your kids, watch my kids for me, that's fine. If you are babysitting and you are doing that on a consistent basis, make sure that they are paying you not in cash, but they're maybe giving you a check or doing a direct deposit to your account, or you can get all those apps that you can just swipe your card and the funds go into your account. So you don't have to have a formal 9-to-5 job. As long as whatever job that you are doing is being paid, or you're being paid via a formal network. So it's going to your bank or you're charging their card. That's really what you need. So try as much as possible to show proof of income. And proof of income is a job. It could be a contractor. It can be like you being a nanny. Whatever you were doing, try to show proof of income. So number one, we've talked about is you getting a bank account. And we've said you can get a bank account even if you are not a legal immigrant, right? Number two, we've talked about getting a job. Not just a job, but want to make sure you show proof of income. That's what we're looking for, the proof of income, right? So you have a job, you have a bank account that should prove income. What's the third thing that you want to do right now? You want to start to pay taxes. You want to start to pay taxes. Remember what we said, even undocumented aliens can pay taxes. This means that if you don't have a green card and you are just in America and you are getting paid as a contractor, maybe someone pays you, hey, come and paint my wall. And at the end of the time, the guy pays you the check, right? You can pay taxes or file a return on that income, even if you are not a legal immigrant. So I advise you to do that because it shows those 2 years that you are making tax payments to the US authorities, right? So you've come to America, and I'm assuming you don't have any paperwork, right? You can apply for a tax identification number, and with that tax identification number, you can open up a bank account. With your bank account, you can then start to pay taxes from the income that you are making from either as a contract employee or as a formal employee. But you've got to show that proof of income. So that's the top three that we can do that. If you don't have paperwork, you can get done. The last one, of course, is to try to get credit. Now, we're going to spend a lot of time on credit because it's a very, very important topic to understand. You have to get credit because in America and in the West, they use what's called a credit scoring system, which means that if you apply for a loan, your details will be run through a computer, right? And the computer will assign a score to you. That score is your credit score. The higher your credit score, then the lower the interest, what we call this word now, the annual percentage rate, the lower your annual percentage rate on your mortgage would be. So let me say it again. The higher your credit score, then the lower your cost of borrowing would be. So if you have a very, very high credit score, you will get a loan at a lower rate. So two people can basically apply for the same loan, and one gets a lower interest on his loan, and the other will get a higher interest on his loan because they both have different credit scores. So you have to apply for a credit product to get a credit score. Why? This is the way it works. If you apply for a loan from a bank or from a lender, and the bank gives you that loan, every time you make your payments, the bank will send a report back to the credit bureau to say, this person with this identification took a loan and he has made his payments on time, and they'll tick off a box. When you go back to apply for a brand new loan, they will simply pull up that exact record and they can see any loan that you have taken with that social security number. They will see it and they will see how consistent you have been in your borrowing and your paying back. Very important. So once you take a loan, you go into the system and that system is going to track you, right? The system tracks you month by month when you make your payment. If you don't make a payment, it puts an X on that month, and that's a ding on you. If you make your payments month by month are on time, then you're helping your credit score to keep on going up and up. So at the very beginning, we've said number one, get your bank account. Number two, get proof of income. Number three, pay your taxes. Number four, go and get a credit product. Now, what is the easiest credit product you can get in America? It's going to be a high interest credit card. Why is it a high interest credit card? Because they don't know you. So if you're from America, you're going to see Capital One. Capital One sends credit cards to everybody. But the interest rates are very, very high because they don't know you. So they charge you a very, very high interest rate, right? But the trick with the credit card is this. If you take a credit card and you swipe it, then you are owing. But if you can pay back what you swipe within 30 days, you don't get charged any interest. So that means even if my credit card is charging me 100% interest, as long as I can pay back within 20 days, I don't pay any cost, right? So I would advise either that credit card or what's called a secured loan. A secured loan means that you go to the bank and you tell the bank, I want to get a loan from you guys, but I would put money in my account. I know it's going to sound confusing. You can give the bank money and ask the bank to lend you that same money as a loan. Why? Because when you are making your payments back to the bank, then the bank is recording back to the credit bureau that you are making your payments on time. So you are using the system to your advantage. You take a loan, you put money in the savings account, then you borrow money on the loan account, then you pay back to the savings account to the same bank. Then the bank will send that report, right, to the credit bureau to tell the credit bureau that you took a loan and you paid back. And because you paid back, it's helping your credit score, right? So over a long period of time, say 24 months, if you are paying back that loan, then your credit score is going up. So very quickly, as soon as you've done 1, 2, and 3, which is to open a bank account, show proof of income, and pay taxes, I would like you to go and try to get a credit card or a secured loan or an auto loan. Just try to get a loan. I'm being very, very careful. I'm caveating. When you get the credit card, it's going to be a high interest credit card. But if you pay back within 20 days, you don't have to pay. If you can get let's say you have the cash in your pocket to buy a car and you want to establish credit and the car is say worth 10,000. Okay, pay 9,500 with cash and then borrow 500 from the bank to pay for the car. It's not the amount that gives you a good credit score, it's the regularity or that you are on time with your payments that give you the good credit score. If you get a phone, right, and it's not a loan, or you pay your house rent, that will not count towards credit because you haven't got taken a credit. You have to take the credit to get the credit score. So you can just finance $100, you can finance $500 as long as you are paying on time. If with the credit cards, you would have really no cost. So now let's assume you've done this. You've done your bank account, you have your proof of income, you've paid taxes, and you then have a credit score, right? And you have a credit account that you're paying. Keep doing this for minimum 24 months. Keep doing this for a minimum of 24 months. Your first credit, let's say your first credit was a credit card. Try to get a different type of credit. So if you got a credit card, try to get an auto loan or a personal loan. So try to spread the type of credit you're getting. I don't think you should try to get 2 credit cards. Rather, ask for an increase in your credit card. But let me explain this to you. Every time you request anything to do with your credit and they pull your credit score, it's going to ding you, quote unquote, it will ding you and say he pulled his credit. So that's not going to be really good for you. So always try to give a long period, minimum 6 months, before you do anything to your credit, right? And if you can then, after you've gotten a credit card, try to get a different type, either an auto loan or a personal loan. So let's assume you have done all these. And I'm going to just review again from the beginning. When you were in Nigeria, before you left Nigeria to come to the United States, you got your proof of income. You showed your paper trail that your money from, say, your RSA or your insurance scheme or the sale of your house went from that purchaser. He gave you a check, it went to your bank account, and then from your bank account, you have a domiciliary account. You have shown that proof of income whilst you're in Nigeria. Then you get to the United States. You go to the United States, you open up a bank account. And we said you can open up a bank account even without a social security number. You can do this with a TIN, a tax identification number. Then we said number 2, you want to show your proof of income. If you work for a company, that's easy. They give you a paycheck, they give you a W-2. But what if you work for yourself, or you work for your uncle, or you work for your husband or your partner, or you just do a casual day job? Let's say you work for Uber or you work for DoorDash. you still should get proof of income, either with a paycheck or with a check paid to you. If you are working for a relation, let's say you live with your relative, he's your uncle, you're working for him. If they want to help you out, they can employ you and pay you with a contract. They can say, hey, you're a contractor, your job is to watch the kids. Childcare is a job. So if you're at home watching someone's kids, that's a job. Don't collect cash and put in your pocket. They pay into your account, give you a check, you bank it in, you are showing proof of income. Many Nigerians get this wrong in that they go work for a friend and they don't ask for payment. Even if he's not going to pay you, collect the check, pay into your account, show your paper trail, right? Then you can pay him back in Nigeria or whatever. But you've got to show that paper trail, guys. Then last thing I want you to do is to pay your taxes. With your tax identification number, you can pay your taxes. So make sure you are paying taxes, right? And you have that paper trail with the IRS. Then the last thing we said is you want to go and get a credit product. We said the easiest in quote to get is those high interest credit cards. It's high interest because they don't know you. You don't have a credit score. So they're going to charge you a very, very high interest. But I've made the point to you that even if your credit card is charging you 100%, if you are able to pay back that balance within 20 days, then there's absolutely no charge. Credit cards only charge you when you do not pay back within the time that as allotted to you, what's called your cycle date. So make sure you know your cycle date is usually 22 days. I just say 20 days to make you give allowance. Once you can pay back the balance, you're fine. Keep your credit card balance, if you can't pay it back every month, to below 30%. So if your credit card is for $1,000, only put 300 on it. That means you can spend 1,000, but make sure you pay 700 minimum. So you're keeping the balance low and you are paying on time. That's what you want to do with the credit card. Once we have done all these, bank, proof of income, taxes, and a credit product, that's when you can apply for a mortgage at your 36th month, right? So you are now done 2 years. You can then go and get what's called a first time home buyer, a home buyer for the first time, right? You want to get that loan. Why? If you are buying a house with a loan for the first time, you get a lot of benefits from the US government, right? You might get a lower APR, you might not pay some terms, and sometimes the bank would even pay some money towards your closing costs. This is when you then go to approach a bank and you then say, hey, I would like to get pre-qualified. So the way it works is this: you go to a bank, first of all, and you get pre-qualification. So you go and say, I would like to buy a house. I want to buy a house for, say, $300,000. The bank will then run you through credit. And if you are successful, the bank will tell you, yes, you are pre-qualified to buy a house for, say, 300,000. That means that if you go see a house that you like, you can go back to the bank and the bank will then issue you a check to the owner of the house. That's how you buy a house with a loan in the West. This is why you need those 4 steps, because the bank, in pre-qualifying you, is going to ask you these 4 questions. Do you have income? Are you paying taxes? Where is the income coming from? So you are walking back to the answer. You got it? Because now you have your income. Now you can show proof where the income came from. And you also have maybe your gift letter from your mom saying, hey, I gave this guy a gift. You have all that. So the bank will then say, yes, you are pre-qualified to buy a house. Then you then go to the buyer of the house, and then you then settle with them. They have their agent. You will not be involved in anything. Your agent will basically deal with the bank and the seller, and that's it. Guys, I'm not really going to talk about the mortgage side of it. That side is a totally big picture side of it. I want to focus on how you can get the mortgage. And I want to answer the question, why is this so important? Why should you get a mortgage? So that's what I'm going to focus on. So now we've talked about how to get the mortgage, but why is it so important that you get a mortgage? In America, the path to wealth is via a mortgage. There's a reason why the middle class in America almost 90% of the wealth of the middle class in America is held in a mortgage or in the equity of their home. So when you have a home, you are on your way to becoming a middle class. If you pull up, and I'm going to put the chart up for you guys on Twitter, if you pull up the wealth of America and you remove the millionaires and you take off the guys that are below the poverty line, the middle class in America is built on home ownership. That's why home ownership is a thing. President said you to go buy a house. They've got Fannie and Freddie. They have an entire ecosystem built around you getting a home, right? So once you get a home, it's the pathway to the middle class. But why is it a pathway to the middle class? I'll tell you why. If you got into, let's say you were just a middle class guy, you were doing your job, and then suddenly you had a need for a lot of money. You need to take a loan. Either someone passed away and you had to travel back to Nigeria, or you saw this opportunity. There's a gas station near your house that you'd want to buy. How do you get a loan? You go to a bank. What the interest rate the bank will charge you? Maybe 4-5% in dollars, right? It's going to be very, very high. But in America, you can take what's called a home equity line of credit. This means you can go to your house and the bank will calculate how much your house is worth. And from that calculation, the bank can issue you a loan based off the valuation of your house. Those loans can last as long as 25 years and they have very, very low APR. So think about this. If you have a house in America and your house is worth 500,000, you could take a home equity line of credit of say $250,000 and come back to Nigeria and build homes for let here, sell them, pay off your loan back in America, and suddenly you have $250,000. That's what a lot of your friends in America are doing. They take a home equity line of credit and they can invest back in Nigeria because the dollar is stronger. So they invest in Nigeria, sell the homes, pay off their loans, and do it all over again. Because your HELOC is like a line of credit. You can pull it down, you can pay back at will. So it's like you have a bank that the assets in your bank is the value of your home. And as your home rises in value, your line technically also rises in value. So having a home equity line of credit is like you having a bank in your pocket. If you see an opportunity, you can take advantage of it at a lower interest rate. This is why if you ever pulled up the demographics in America, the richest Americans will be the Indians, right? But the Caucasians make up the bulk of the rich Americans. Why? Home ownership. The lowest homeowners in America are minorities, especially blacks. If you don't have a home, then you don't get the American dream. If you cannot get access to credit, then you cannot get the American dream. And only the home equity line of credit gives you a 25-year loan at a fixed rate that is off the value of your home at a very, very low interest rate. So think about what you can do. In Nigeria, if I have a house, the only way I can make money from that house is rent. That's all, rent. But in America, I can take a loan on my house at a lower interest rate for 25 years. So I can build a house in Nigeria, rent it out, collect naira, change to dollars, and pay back my loan in America. Somebody's going to say, what about the interest rate? Okay, I sell it all and I pay back and I keep my dollars. It's really that simple. But let's look at the last point, guys. The last point, and I'm going to open up the floor for you guys to talk and all that. The last point. When you buy a home in America, right, you are buying a 30-year, you could choose to pay your interest on that home for 30 years, which means for the next 30 years, right, you are paying the same amount as a mortgage, the same amount as a mortgage. But your rental can go up, right? So if I have a home in America and I then go and buy a second home, I can rent out that first home. I am paying a mortgage for 30 years, so the amount is fixed. But the rent that is being paid to me, I can increase if interest rates or inflation go up. So look at it this way. I'm gaming the system in quotes. I am paying the banks a fixed amount for the next 30 years. But within these 30 years, I am able to increase and to reduce my rent. So you can see it's the maths work in my favor. I am paying the bank $1,000 for the next 30 years, but I can increase my rent to $3,000 in the next 10 years. The bank cannot increase the loan that you're charging me. They cannot. It's fixed for 30 years, but I can increase my rent. That's the maths, guys. That's the trick in home ownership in America, that you can earn passive income, that you can hedge against inflation, but you won't pay any increase in the loan amount that you are basically paying. So, guys, I think I've spoken for 30 minutes. I was going to talk about how you can then buy the second home after having your first home, right? So I'm just going to I'll pause here so we can catch our breath. And if anyone has any clarification questions, I will hear them. And then if there are no questions, I would go ahead. I have a DM already. It's asking, how can I get a good credit score? Good question. So if you already have a credit product, right? A good credit number is going to be anywhere. If you want to have excellent credit, that's going to be anywhere from 730. So credit scores will go from 450 to say 850. If you have a credit score of say 730, that's an excellent credit score. What that means for you is that you can borrow at a lower rate. So the higher your credit score, the lower your interest you will pay is. That's why you want to work, that you want to build a good credit score. And how can you get a good credit score? Credit scores are by percentages, which means if you do this, you get this number. If you do this, you get this number. So the very, very first thing is this. If you have a credit product, let's say a credit card or a loan, and you make your payments on time, you are earning 35% of your credit score. So once I take a loan and I pay back my loan on time, I am getting 35% of my score already. Now, what if I take a loan and I then pay back or keep my interest that I'm borrowing below 30%? You are now also getting 30% of your score. This means that if I take a loan and I pay my loan back on time, and I keep my utilization on my credit card to below 30%, I have already scored 65% of my credit score. That's what it means. It's really that simple. Take the loan and pay the loan on time, and you are already at 65% if you keep that interest below 30. It's not difficult. It's hard, but it's not difficult, guys. All right. SK, did you want to say something, sir?
Yeah, I want to say something, but I'll speak in a minute when you're done.
I'm breaking now before I go to stage 2 of how we can take this and then buy a second home. So is your question more of what we've talked about, or do you want to speak about something that I've not spoken about yet? You can ask, or we can wait. It's going to be your call.
Yeah, I'll wait.
Super. Thanks, Ablam. Okay. So I have Loretta. Loretta, how are you? Okay, and someone is asking me if this applies to the UK. I'm not too familiar with the UK system, but I am familiar with the concept.
So that's exactly why I came up. I was going to talk about the UK aspect of it. So
okay,
you're going to speak on it. That's why I didn't say anything.
Got you. So the UK, I'm not too familiar with it. I had a lady here that was supposed to come speak to us about the UK. Very, very nice lady and her husband. They had bought a home in 24 months, and they gave a step-by-step account of what they did. I'm going to basically share her tweet up there. Very, very nice. So if she comes in, I'll let her talk. If she doesn't come in, I will make sure I share her YouTube. I think her handle, let me see if I can get her handle for you guys. Very, very nice. She gave a breakdown, she and her husband, breakdown word for word on how you can basically buy your home in the UK. And she was very detailed. Yeah. So if I get her I'll share her Twitter handle on the Twitter feed, but that's basically it, Abraman. Do you want to? Yeah. Loretta, is that you? Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I'm actually a graduate, so and everything you said is quite interesting. I'm really happy this platform or this space is happening. You actually talked about buying. For me, I have this challenge. I'm trying to really reduce how much I buy stuff. I'm trying to follow through my budget and buying a car, getting a car loan, credit. I don't know how to manage that because I guess that you only take a loan when you need to buy a lot of stuff. And for me, buying a lot of stuff right now is not actually what I'm focused on. So aside from getting credit and spending money from the loan you've received from this credit agent, how else can one spend? What can one spend on? Because if you don't spend on that credit, you can't pay back because you've not spent, so you can't pay back. So for me, it's a challenge right now.
Yeah, good
Aside from the fact
question.
that I'm on a low budget, but I don't. I mean, it means I have to deliberately start buying things I don't need.
Good question, Loretta. Good question. Let me tell you what you should do, right? On your credit card, you can pay your utilities on your credit card. So you can pay your gas, you can pay your pick some that you pay all the time. You eat, right? So you go to Walmart or you go to Asda, you eat. Hey guys, sorry, I got kicked off by Twitter, but I'm back in now. Sorry about that, guys. So it happens. I know what's going on with Twitter. Sometimes you get kicked off. So really sorry about that. But Loretta asked a very, very good question. Loretta, I hope you're hearing me right. Loretta is basically is the same thing because when a credit card is, I call it a weapon of mass destruction. Credit cards are very, very good, but they are very, very dangerous. Imagine if you come from Nigeria where we are used to spending what we earn and you get to the United States and someone gives you, they will basically send you letters saying you can take this card and you can just go spend. You don't have to earn the money, just go spend. And they'll give you a limit of $2,000 and you can only pay just 5%. Once you pay 5%, you're good. So it's a tempting way to get into a debt trap. And if you're not careful, you fall into that trap. But what our advice is this: what are your non-discretionary expenses? Let's just pick two: food and gas. You must eat. If you have a car, you must buy gas, or you must pay gas bills or your power bills. Use your credit card and pay those. Get the credit card and then just do auto pay. You go to the store, you swipe your card and you pay for food, and then you immediately go to your bank account and you close out the credit that you spent. Once you spend that card, it is reported to the bureau, right? Then you pay back after 1 week. You're good. You have no credit debt. You want to make it that habit. If you go to the gas station, take out your credit card, swipe. And I always advise, get the credit card that pays you this the points or gives you cash back. So that way you are also earning, right? Even as you are basically you are also earning even as you are spending, right? So that's what I think you should do. Be very careful with credit cards. I would say only use your credit cards where you're going to get points and only use them for what it's on your budget, Loretta. Because otherwise, like you said, you have to use the credit card. And if you don't use the credit card, you don't get the credit points and the credit scores. So use it only for food and for gas and for non-discretionary expenses. Don't use your credit card and go on a holiday. Loretta, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, thank you, Carlos. Like I said, right now you asking me to apply, which I intend to do sometime next week when I'm a bit free. And Capital One is actually offering me the same, but I'm trying to sit down to look at what this because I currently work with a university that I'm a
Do you
student
have a
in.
card right now?
I'm sorry.
Do you have a card, a credit card right now?
No, I do not have. So I'm actually trying to choose between going with Chase Bank or staying with Capital World. I'm just trying to see which has a better benefit and better offers for me.
I would go with Chase. Why? Because it's a bank, number one. So as you grow, the bank can easily increase your score. and you might get points, and Chase has lots of other options that they can get. Capital One is a high interest card. It's usually targeted at folks that have very, very low credit or have no credit. It's a good starter card. But if I could get two of them, I would go for Chase, right? Just because it's a bank and they have more spread and all that. So both would work, but I would go for the Chase, use that Chase card for just my non-discretionary expenses, and I'll just stick to that for now. That's what I will do.
Okay, I think I will go with Chase Bank because I actually currently that's where my paycheck is paid into, and that's where I use the debit card for a lot of
Correct.
stuff. So I think it's better converting to Chase credit.
So it's easier for you. Great. So guys, yeah, I've got Tochi here. Tochi is lady I was talking about from the UK, and I don't know if Tochi has been listening. Tochi, you can unmute yourself if you've been listening from the beginning when I talked about the US side of it, right? Do you want to give just a bullet point on the UK side? Does it work this way? Do I have to get a bank account? Can I get a bank account in the UK if I'm not a legal resident? Can I show proof of income? Can I pay taxes? And can I get a credit score? Just in the UK side, what do you think, Tochi? And thanks for being here.
Hi, good evening, everyone. You have to be a legal immigrant for you to be able to do that. You need to open a bank account.
Okay. So you
need to get a credit card, yeah.
So I have to be a legal resident in the UK to get a credit card and to open a bank account.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So there's a bit different from the US then. I don't know if anyone from Canada wants to chime in or send me a DM, then I can just tell everyone else. If in Canada you also have to be a legal resident to get a credit card or to get a loan, yeah, I'd like to hear from someone in Canada. Just send me a DM and I'll read it out, guys. Yeah. Okay, so Sharif, you can just type it in there. Sharif wants to talk about getting a credit score in the Nordic region. Sharif, type in your answer there and I'll read it out. Tochi, I'm going to have you mute for a minute. I'm going to talk about the second part. Then we can come back and talk about some things in the UK. So the first part, guys, is how you can get a home, right, in 36 months, right? You can get one home. And I'm just going to do a quick summary. Number one, get your bank account. Number two, get your proof of income. Number three, pay your taxes. Then number four, with your credit score, try to then get credit, right? Get a home loan. First-time home buyer loan. When you are buying this first-time home buyer house, right, don't try to buy your dream home in your dream location for the very, very first time. Try not to, because it's going to cost you a lot of money and it might be more than the rent you're paying. A good rule of thumb is to say, please, what are you paying as rent at the moment? What are you paying as rent at the moment? Whatever you're paying as rent at the moment, that's going to be your target to pay less or equal to as a mortgage. So I would say if you're paying rent, move to a place in a good location that you can rent out that is equal to or less than your rent. The key word here is that you can rent out. When you want to buy that first home, you want to buy that first home in a location that you can rent out, and you're going to see the reason why later. You're not buying your dream house yet for now, right? You just want to move to a place so you stop paying rent and then you are in this home that you own. Even if you pay 5 or 10% as a first-time home buyer, you can get the home. So in the US, you don't have to pay the full balance for the home. And I think that's the same with everybody, right? You can pay as low as 5% to get the home. But if you pay less than 20%, you will pay what's called primary mortgage insurance. This is in the US. So it's like you're paying an insurance to someone because they don't know you as a lender and you might default. So you are paying that to someone else, right? Primary mortgage insurance. But you can buy the home with 5%. You can move into that home at 5% and it's yours. It's yours. Once you own that home, any appreciation in the value of that home is your equity. That means that's the money that you now own. The bank and yourself own that home, but the appreciation in value comes only to you. You own the equity. So if you are in this rental home for the say in your 3 years in the US, right, and you stay under 1 year or 2 year, or house prices go up, or you can actually do what's called a refinance, which means you can take your existing home, pull the equity from that existing home, and use as a down payment in a new home somewhere else. So let's go back and say it again. You own a home, you only paid 5% of that home, right? So you live in that home now, it's yours. If the home value appreciates, you can go to your bank and refinance that house, i.e., you take a new loan on that house to pay off the bank and have a new equity. Use that as a down payment now in your quote unquote dream home. That home is going to be, if you have kids, near a school district or near where you work. That's now where you can then be more choosy because you have more options. So your first home gets you in, and you use the equity from that first home to then buy your dream home. Should you sell your first home? That's totally up to you. But I've seen what people do is that they take that first home and they rent it out. Then they use the equity from that first home as a down payment on the new home. So they have two homes and they have two mortgages, but one mortgage is being covered by the rent. Then their other rent mortgage is being covered by their own income. So it's two homes on a fixed mortgage, but one home they are renting out and their income can go up. And as they are also working in America, their income is also going up. So technically, they have two homes, and with one income, they are servicing both homes. That's what I see some people doing. So imagine if you do this for 2 or 3 times, or you just stop at just one home. You then become a landlord, owning your own home, earning an inflation indexed income, which means that your income, your rent, you can increase as inflation goes up. But your bank loan will not go up if you choose a fixed. If you choose an ARM, which is an adjustable rate mortgage, your loan would go up. So I like 30-year fixed. That's the time you want to choose, right? That's now the trick for you, because you then have two homes, your costs are fixed, but your earnings are income and inflation adjusted. Guys, that's the hack really for you, that you can get this home at its one cost and you can then basically get that home. So guys, I'm going to open up the floor. Lots of guys want to speak. I'm going to read the DMs. Let me just approve people to come in here and talk. Tochi, did you want to add anything to what I just said?
I think for now we're actually paying less, lesser than we were paying when we're paying rent. We're going to be paying less now. For instance, for rent, for a 2-bedroom house, we're paying £600, but now we're going to be paying about 500, and that was because we wanted it to be higher.
Yeah.
The bank initially worked out for us to pay about 425, but we wanted it to go higher, so that's why we're paying 500 at the moment.
So it's a
2-bed house.
So your mortgage is now less than your rent.
Yes.
And you are in the UK and
by
£100. Tochi, that YouTube video that you did, could you send me a message so I could broadcast it, the YouTube message, or just copy me so I can retweet it again? That YouTube link, how you guys bought your house in the UK, if you could send it to me again, I'll just retweet. I think it's very, very good learning. I like the way you guys broke it down on a personal level, and it's your life experience, right? So people can actually copy and learn what you guys did there. If you can send it to me again, I'll just do a retweet about it so people can follow, right? Okay, just send it to me. Okay, you're welcome. So Tochi, what's your handle is Tochi_Esther1. So Tochi_Esther1, right? Super. So Tochi, stay right there. Don't go, just stay right there, right? So I've got Ogbeni, I've got King, I've got Mayowa. Ogbeni, so Tochi, I'm going to have you mute. I'm going to have Ogbeni, King, and Mayowa. So we'll start to Ogbeni. What do you want to say, sir? Go ahead.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Good Good evening, Mr. Kalu Aja. I've been following you for quite a while now, and I must say you are doing an incredible job. I actually wanted to comment on what you said about getting a credit card in the UK the other time.
Okay.
Before you change the topic of this discussion to getting a home in the diaspora.
Gotcha.
So I was about saying that for those in the UK, it's very difficult for you to get a credit card if you are not staying here in the UK. You can't come on a vacation or holiday and then you are saying you want to get a credit card. In fact, opening a bank account is very, very difficult for people who are already here. Talk less of those who are not here, because they will be asking you to provide a proof of address and all those unnecessary stuff. So that's just what I wanted to say then before changing the topic of the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. So so in the UK, I understand that you can't get a credit card on all that unless you're a citizen. That's sad. But yeah, thank you, Ogbeni, for letting us know that. Thank you so much. So you're welcome. I've got Fortune and I've got King. Fortune, go for it, sir. Fortune.
Good evening.
How you doing today? Hi.
I'm all right. So I have a question. Okay, basically, I'm an architect practicing here in Nigeria. So you mentioned that a lot of people in America get this loan and send it back here in Nigeria. So I'm asking, is it legal? I thought it's a crime, like a money laundering where you get loan and then you now send it outside abroad for a project. So I'm trying to clarify that because I have an issue with a client that was trying to use loan to finish his project here in Lagos, and there was issue or something. So I'm trying to understand that. That's my question.
Okay, yeah, great question, sir. Great question. So this is the US now, In the US, if you have a home, you own a home, you can go to the bank and get what's called a home equity line of credit. So it's just a line of credit that your home is the value, is the collateral. Once you get that loan, it's usually it's usually like a 10-year, then you can sort of refinance it for 15 years. So give or take about 25 years. You can do whatever you like with that loan. Once it's approved, you can write yourself a check, you can marry a new wife, you can build a house in the moon, whatever you like, because the collateral is your home. So the bank has the collateral. So you can I know personal friends that have done this. You take a home line of credit, you go to Lekki, you buy land, you build apartments, and you sell. You go back to America and you pay off your line of credit. It's a thing. It's not, I know people that have done it one-on-one personally. So just ask your friends. I don't know about the UK. This is the US, the home equity line of credit. Yeah. So you can Google the home equity line of credit and it's right there. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Yeah. So thank you. I like that. So Mr. Lexi, I've got Mr. Lexi next.
Okay, thanks, Carlo. My name is Lexi. Good afternoon from Canada.
Oh, Canada.
Can I give my story in very, very short time?
Go for it. Go for it.
2018, and I bought my first home in summer of 2020.
2 years?
Yes, I bought my first home in the summer. I moved into my first home in the summer of 2020, and I've just paid 20% for my second home this month. And I'm going to give my story very quickly. So when I came in 2020, of course, I collected the 25% for my pension in Nigeria, and immediately put it in a GIC, which is what like a fixed deposit. I locked it in, and then got a credit card immediately because you can't do anything without credit card. I have 2 credit cards, one from Walmart. That's where I buy my groceries, I buy my food stuff, everything, and I take 1.25% cash back anytime I buy stuff from Walmart.
Excellent.
And I have another one from RBC, which is the first bank I opened my account when I came to Canada.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 credit cards I have. I pay on time, pay everything back on time within from the statement date, you have 3 weeks to pay back everything.
Excellent.
I have the money on ground already. Immediately I finish my transaction, as the statement comes out, I try to keep it below 30%. It tells my credit score, and I think the credit score is similar to USA, to the way it works in the US. My score is about 700 and something over 800. So good credit score, no default. You don't put utilities on your credit card. You are not able to pay your utilities from your credit card, so you have to pay directly from your bank account. But my groceries, my regular stuff, I use my credit card and I pay back on time. So I built my credit history, and then when it came to buying a home, I was 19 and I was living in downtown here, and I was paying about $1,600 because I had to pay $100 for parking. And then when I got my home, I dropped about 10% because I couldn't afford 20%. Now, similar to what Carlos said, when you drop less than 20% for a home, that's less than $500,000. You would have to take what is called a CMHC insurance, and I think it's similar to what he talked about earlier. So it's typical insurance, which is really a lot of money, because depending on the amount you drop, the amount you can drop a minimum of 5% of the value of the home, and then your insurance will be, you also, part of the mortgage will be an insurance to cover for your default. So that's really how the home insurance works. So what I did was to try to pay to drop as much as possible in order to pay less as that particular CMBC insurance.
Yeah.
So I did almost 10%, and I dropped almost 10%, so the insurance was a bit low. And then I secured the first house. And that was just pre-COVID in 2019. I dropped $5,000 for that particular house because they had not built it yet. Prime, very good location, not too far from downtown. And then before the house would be ready in 2020, the value had appreciated almost 100% because of COVID materials. And again, people were rushing to the eastern part of Canada where I live because of the low COVID cases. Immigration levels were high, demand was high. The price had skyrocketed. So thankfully, I was able to get in before COVID, and I closed the house in 2020. Yeah. And when I moved in, by the time I moved, I bought it for about almost 400. By the time I moved, it was selling for 650.
So you already made equity on that home already.
Exactly. I already made equity on that home by the time I got in. So last year I called my mortgage broker. Look, I'm ready to buy a second home. They valued the house, and then they valued it about $630. So I was able to refinance the house. So essentially, I paid back the first lender, and I now borrowed or took part of my equity at even a lower interest rate, because interest rates were low than the first one I took before. So I was able to take money, and I have 20% down payment from the equity that I took. And then paid for the second house. I just paid for the second house, and I still have extra money that I've invested in some very good US stocks. So for those ones to also appreciate. So
Lex,
I just like to summarize my story.
Yeah, Lex, I think you are saying so many things that are important, but you are saying it so fast. There are people that I want people to be able to understand what is that you are just laying out. That you left Nigeria to Canada in 2 years, you bought a house, and you refinanced that house, buying a second one. Am I correct?
That's right.
And you have credit cards too that you're paying down because one is tied to your utilities, which means you just use it every time and you get the cash back. And you set yourself up now for success. So when I posted this topic, right, lots of people came to my DM and like, this is not possible. You are putting people under pressure. Just to be clear, you don't have to do this in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. All I'm trying to do is to essentially give you how to. When you want to do it, you know the how to. And Lexi has basically showed that it's possible. Lexi, if you can send me a summary I can put up on and say this is how you did it, send me a mail, I'll copy, just say what I did, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I will tweet it out and people can learn. I won't put your handle, don't worry. But I'll say this is how this guy did it. Just give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So please know that it's not just me talking. It's also possible. Tochi has done it. I've posted up her YouTube on my TL. So if you go to my timeline, you'll see Tochi. Tochi, I know your husband, right? I know that's your husband. So I'll put it up as well so you can actually go in and learn. I want you guys to learn this. For me, I'm a finance guy, right? So I understand finance, but it's more than finance for me. As an immigrant, as a minority, you cannot get economic wealth if you do not get into the quote unquote game. And the game in the West is home ownership. That's why there was a law, a racist law that was being implemented called redlining. They put in redlining because they do not want black people to have homes. Why do you think they did that? Because homes are very, very important. So, Lex, I'm going to hold you to it. Please send me a summary so I can post and people can read point to point for the Canadians. Please do that. I'm going to hold you to it. And I appreciate you coming to share. But stay there in case someone has a Canadian question. So I've got Fortune. Fortune, please go for it, sir. Fortune, that's my Ogu. Fortune, I'm going to give you a few more seconds.
No, I have asked the question and you've answered.
Super. Okay, sorry about that. We'll just take you off. I have King.
Okay, yeah, thank you, and good evening to everyone. Thank you, Mr. Kalu, for having me.
How you doing?
My question is, I want to buy a house in the US, but I'm a non-resident. So, what is the process and procedure I need to go through?
Are you living in Nigeria or the US?
Yeah, I live in Nigeria, but I want to buy a house in the US. I have that
So
buying a house in the US.
There are many ways to do it. If you have at least $250,000 US, you can talk to any lawyer and say you want to buy a home in the US. You can buy it if you have a cash down. You just won't get a mortgage, right? Or you get a high interest mortgage, or they'll ask you to put more down. But lawyers can do that for you. America has a program where you can buy a house and get a visa. I think it's $250,000. I'm not sure. So just go meet a lawyer and say, I want to buy a house in the US. What should I do? You have to have the money. So you pay the money. You immigrate, they give you a visa, but you have to have the money. So this is for
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome, bro.
Thank you.
All right. So I've got Edith 2202.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
How you doing? Great.
Thank you. Thank you for pronouncing my name properly. I have a question with regards to buying a house, and I've seen some videos about when you buy a house, but this is in America though. When I'm speaking from the UK, like when you buy a house, you shouldn't put your child as a next of kin, because when something happens to you, the house might be taken or taxed or something. So you should put your house in. There's a word they use. I can't remember the word. Or you should put your house in a charity. So I don't know if Toshi can. Because she's in the UK, she got her own house and she's a mother. So I don't know if she could throw some light on this.
Toshi will answer in a bit. But let me just say something there. Next of kin technically does not mean anything, right? Technically, it doesn't mean the person would inherit the property. In Nigeria, I see lots of quote unquote men doing this. They put their male underage son as next of kin. They won't put the adult female or whatever. Next of kin doesn't technically mean anything. If you own a property, not just a house, if you own property, a car, bank account, and you don't have a designated person that would inherit that property, either via a loan or via a will, or via like a joint signer to the account, the money goes to the state. So in the US, the assets will go and wait. If no one comes to claim it, it will go to the state. So you can do a trust, right? You can do a power of attorney. That way, if anything happens to you, that power of attorney or that trust would own the assets from you. So that's the technical way to do it. But overall, even in Nigeria, if you put the next of kin that is underage or cannot go into a contract, it may be a problem. I don't advise anyone to do that. You can get a corporate trustee if you don't trust your relatives and put them as a trustee to the house. So if anything happens to you, title goes to that corporate trustee, and then you can tell the corporate trustee what to do with that asset. Tochi, did you want to add anything to what I said?
Yes, I'm sorry. Please let me just give the phone to my husband.
Sure.
I'm attending to my new.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, sorry, good evening. sorry, our new baby is crying, so she just came in.
Got you, that's fine.
Yeah, actually, in the UK, you can actually create what they call a trust, so that if your kids are underage, the trust gets to manage the property. All right, and when they come of age, then please bear in mind you can get life insurance. So with life insurance, which we also have, if anything happens to you, the life insurance pays off the balance of the debt on the house. All right, and also the same life insurance can manage the house for your child until it's of age to be given the house. They can still live inside and everything, but that trust takes care of sort of like ownership, ending when they come of age. Then if you take a joint mortgage with your husband or wife, the next person that's husband and wife takes over ownership of the house. And life insurance and a trust. And
for some time, over 7 years or so. So that's just what I want to say, and I really appreciate the youth of these days. You are not coming here to do some mania jobs and stay in it for 10 years or whatever. Go for whatever you want to do. Go for the high class jobs. Go in there. And another thing, for those who are in school, don't be afraid to go into the offices or ask. Get somebody to package your resume for you. Go for internship. Go for volunteering, and then have a career path. It's not just about getting the degree. Have a career path. We love degree. We get it, but you don't have the career path that matches the degree. Here, it's about the experience and the degree together. Okay? So once you have that and you're all right, the sky's the limit, and I wish you guys the best.
Thank you so much, bro. I didn't know if you were a real person because of the name and all that, but thank you so much for those contributions. Yeah, that was real good. I think the main point I got from you is that listen, we have to do the knowledge, do the hard work, and shoot above what you think you can get to. Buying cash is very African. I don't want to take a loan. I don't want to take a loan. It's very African and it's a good thing. And I know I follow the guy on, what's this guy's name that says don't get a credit score, don't get credit. What's his name? The Bible guy. What's his name? Dave Ramsey. I read Dave Ramsey. Yeah, he's very good. Dave is very, very good. And I hear where he's coming from. But they say when in Rome, do like the Romans. In America, in the West, they are all about credit. And like I told someone earlier, even if you have the money to buy a car, the car is $5,000. Buy the car for $4,800 and finance $200. They work with credit here. So you can't say, unless you're a billionaire's kid that you can buy everything without the credit song, go get the credit and pay it back. Understand how it works. Use the game to get ahead. That's just what I'll say, right? Thank you so much, Bo. I appreciate you doing that, right? So I've got Mazi Chike Okeke. Thank you, sir. If you want to go ahead and speak, I got you open line.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kano, and then good evening, everybody. Thank you a lot for what you're doing on the platform. Just a quick question. I'm based in London. I think Tochi and probably SK could be able to chip in a bit. So basically, also, Mr. Kano, I want to know, trying to buy outside of London, properties in London are quite expensive. I work and live in London, but outside of London is a bit cheaper. But I just wanted to know, from the experience, Mr. Kano, Tochi, and then SK, or anybody who bought in the UK, this challenge of having mortgage really higher than rent, it's not been making quite a lot of sense to me. So, for instance, I pay 1,300 outside of London. Of course, you could get a bit of 900, 1,000 or thereabout. And the mortgage, how do I get my mortgage? What do I need to do to at least have my mortgage to be, even if it's equal to the rent that is being paid, say it's in a 3-bedroom, in that particular environment where I want to buy? How do you, for Tochi, for SK, I don't know your experience, is your mortgage lower than the rent in that environment? If it is, how are you able to do that? And if the mortgage is higher than the rent, I mean, what's really the advantage, and what's the convincing factor in trying to do that? Secondly, here in the UK, there is a challenge because of residential mortgage and buy-to-let mortgage. These are two different mortgages. If you're going for a residential property, the down payment seems to be lower in the UK. You can get as low as 5% here for a residential property for first-time property owners. Buy-to-let definitely has a higher down payment, but has its own advantage. In the UK here, you're not allowed. It's illegal to convert residential. If you've bought a home with a residential mortgage, it's illegal in the UK to rent it out. So say you're trying to move or thereabout, you can't really rent out that property. So it becomes difficult. I don't know if anyone has got also any experience in this aspect. So for Tochi SQ, you do go to a residential mortgage, you need a buy-to-let mortgage, and how were you really able to go around this new thing, which is mortgage versus rent, and then residential mortgage versus buy-to-let mortgage? Thank you.
Thank you, Mazi. So I'm going to have Tochi, her husband, and Eski attend to you. But very quickly, sir, if you'd want to get your mortgage less than your rent, it's just easy, the down payment. So when you pay the down payment, you can actually go online. They have lots of calculators, and you can put in figures, and it will tell you what your monthly is. It's just maths. So if I have a $400,000 house and interest is 10%, that means I'm going to pay $40,000 a year, right? So if I don't want to pay 40, just make a larger down payment. If I pay 100,000 as down pay, then it becomes 300,000 and I only pay 30. So the first question for you is just, you can do a higher down payment and that reduces the monthly. So between Tochi, her lovely husband, and SK, you guys go for it.
All right. So, like for us, there are many factors that affect how much you pay on your mortgage repayment. Firstly, is the interest rate you get. So, my friend, for instance, got 2.4%. I got 1.85% interest on our mortgage. Then again, is the term of your mortgage affects the. So we said reduce the term of the mortgage, and our payment went up to about £500, which we're also comfortable with paying. So two things is, if you're in the age bracket where you don't have so much years before retirement, you have about 20 years, you cannot get a 35-year term on your mortgage. So it's going to make your repayments go high. So that's another thing you need to look at. How much is the term of the mortgage you're looking at? Then the interest rate. Then, like he mentioned, the loan to value ratio of your mortgage. So if you're putting down 35% for a house at £400,000, obviously you're going to pay back so much money at the end of the month. But if you put down 20% for a house at £400,000, your repayments will definitely go down. So your initial deposit, the length of your mortgage, and your interest rate, these are the things that contribute to how much you repay. Then again is that depending on the area you go for the house, because again is, if you're living in London in a 2-bed house, for instance, and pay £1,000 a month, and you want to go and buy a 4-bed house in Milton Keynes, you definitely pay more because you're buying a 4-bed house. So again, what kind of house are you talking about? So value of the house, loan to value ratio, term of the mortgage, and how much interest you get from your bank. These are the things that will affect how much you pay. Then again, is the first, you can go for like a 5-year fixed rate deal, all right, instead of 2 years. Then after 5 years, you can remortgage, all right, and still bring down how much you're paying back at the end of the month. Then you can always overpay your mortgage as well. So it all depends, like I said, on these factors. There's no stipulated formula that can kind of slash your repayment. It's just if these numbers stick together, they will bring the figure out for you. So you can use calculators online to check these things. And that's what we actually did. And we just arrived at a figure that was very comfortable for us. And like Kalu said as well, you can also take a loan off your mortgage. So all these things depends on how you want to do it.
That's very deep.
Can I just add to that quickly? So from what you described, Mr.
Mazi.
To get houses cheaper, you need to go up north. The closer you are to London, the more expensive the house is. So I'll give you an instance. If your annual salary is £30,000, the agreement in principle, the maximum a bank can borrow you is times your annual salary, which is 4.5 times 30,000 would be 135,000. To get a house for 135,000 pounds in London is the chances is very, very, very low. 135,000 in London. I don't even think you can get that. But anywhere from Warsaw, even in Birmingham, you can get a flat for as low as 120,000 pounds. So if you staying in London is very, very expensive. So if you want to remain in London, then you have to be able to pay the price which you're already doing. The 1,300 pounds per month rent. If you pay that in Manchester or Liverpool, you'll be living in like maybe 4-bedroom house, which will be very, very massive. So my advice to you would be, if whatever is pinning you down in London, if you can relocate to any other city within the UK, that is if you're determined to buy a house. But if you have the money and all of the things Tochi has said, if it applies to you, then you can remain in London. The other thing is the buy-to-let and the first property. As a first-time buyer, you cannot use your first house as a rentage. People do it, but it's against the law, and if they find out, you're in big soup. So the best thing to do is your first house you're buying, buy that and just do whatever you want to do. Then when you remortgage it, or when you sell that, or you want to put it on the market to buy another one, then you can do that. To do the buy-to-let, I think the initial deposit on buy-to-let is about maybe 25% or something like that, which is a little bit different from buying as a first-time buyer. And all of the perks that comes with buying as a first-time buyer doesn't apply to you when you're buying to rent it. In fact, when you're buying a house, one of the questions will be: are you buying as a residential house, or you're buying it to rent it out, to let it out? So yeah, just be mindful of the difference between the two. Thank you.
Those are lovely answers, Marcy. I think this is not a financial advice space, but I think they've given you some very, very good answers. Does that at least put you on the right path?
Yeah, Mr. Kanu. I mean, so much. SK, thanks a lot. I just followed you. I'm willing to, of course, my family still very young family. I'm trying to looking at Wellingborough. I'm looking at purchasing along Wellingborough, which is miles away from Leicester towards Nuneaton and all that. And like I said, I could move them there and then on my own still until I'm ready to move away finally from London. So a lot. I'm going to look at the environment you say through, and I'm going to connect to you personally. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the advice, and God bless you. Same to Mr. Kanu and Tochi.
Yeah. So for Tochi, for Lexi, for DK Abraman, you guys are Ruler. You guys are doing a great job here. I appreciate what you guys are doing, answering these questions for people that are just asking. It's just wonderful that you guys are here. So I still have this guy Dele Deji Olojide. Hello, sir. Please go ahead. Thank you for waiting so long.
Hello, Carlo. Thank you very much for having me here, and thank you for the work you're doing here and all these speakers. So I just want to share a bit of my experience with regards to buying a house, especially in Canada. I moved to Canada in 2015 with my family. I bought a house in 2017. But I'm currently in the UK right now. I left Canada last year. When I bought a house in 2017, it was a townhouse, 3-bedroom town. It was part of a condo complex, so we pay condo fees every month, apart from the mortgage payments I make to the bank. Now, the condo fee I was paying them at the ab initio when I bought the house, so a new house, it was $180 per month. But right now, the condo fee is $360, and I'm in the UK, so I'm renting the house right now. And with the condo fees I'm paying, the rents in the area can't cover the mortgage. So if I was to buy a house right now as a first time buyer in Canada, I want to look for a house in a condominium setting. I would like to buy a standalone house. So that might be helpful for new buyers that want to buy a house. You need to consider that, so that if you see a deal, I think that it's a deal. That there are condo fees, and condo fees just keep increasing. There's no limit on them; they just keep growing. Like I said, I bought in 2017, $180. Now the condo fee is $360, and nothing says that next year not going to go to $400. So something to watch when they are buying houses. Thank you.
Great point, BJ. I think it's all location. And my strategy is like the first one you buy is just for you to get into the game. So instead of you paying rent, at least you're in your own house and you are at least getting equity. Mazi asked that question. I don't think we so. It's you are getting equity, right? And you are paying. You are still going to pay a home cost, but it's your own and getting equity. Then when you've built up your income, you can then look for a place. And remember, no one talks about this, but school in the US, your kids have got to go to school in their district, which means when you want to buy a house in the US, you are looking really at the school district, not even the house per se. If you want to go to, say, live in this place of town, you want to ask, how are the schools? I don't know if that's the same in Canada or in the UK where you can go to any school you like, but school district is a big thing in the US. So lots of people buy homes because of the school in that area. Then when your kids are out of school, then you can then start talking about, okay, I want to buy my own home with the view on the golf course, because the advantage the West has that you can buy a home as your life changes. In Nigeria, you build a home in Surulere, that's where you're going to be even if you are retired. We don't move. There's no Florida in Nigeria. There is no Utah or Montana that we can go to and live when we have stopped working and our income has fallen. So here, home mobility and home ownerships are a thing, and they take advantage of it. Great. I got just ask Alex. Just ask Alex, and I've got Doctor. Did you want to say something else? I have you up here.
Yeah, just a quick one. Excuse me. Yeah, thanks for that last comment. Yeah, I just wanted to say that, again, that's when I talked earlier, I talked about phases of life, right? For people emigrating, people emigrate at different points in their lives. Some people emigrate when they're single. Some people, young married couple. Some have just very young kids. Because, like I said, I was in the UK for about 14 years before I left for Canada. So there are big considerations to where you buy a house, where you choose to live, super big. And although I don't know what the perception is right now in Nigeria, but people may think that any school is good anywhere once it's in quote and unquote India abroad. That's not true, actually. It is not true at all.
True. Yeah.
And so part of the factors that influences where you buy a house is the schools in that vicinity. If you have a family, and it depends on whether your kids are primary or elementary school. And then when it's time for high school or secondary school, people actually move to where the next best school is, because your kids have to go to a school in your area. They don't just go to school anywhere. They have to go to school in a particular designated area. And you'll be shocked. Not all schools are the same. But we've been through it. Like I said, our kids are graduates now. So we went through all the phases. Not all schools are the same. And a big factor. And the houses near the good schools are more expensive, because it's not just you eyeing those schools. Every parent is eyeing those schools, right? So yeah, there's a lot of many other factors that influences where you buy house. But what we do say, what I would advise anyone coming in generally, we didn't buy a first house for quite a while, partly because when we came in the early 2000s, the economy was totally different to what it is now. But we always say, what I say to young people, like, just put leg, like they say in Nigeria, just put leg, right?
Yeah.
Just put leg to get on the ladder. With wisdom, though, get advice, get counsel. There are mortgage advisors, many of them are good. There's plenty of online resource. And of course, you can do word of mouth. If you have close friends, family who have come ahead of you, you can ask them. It's good to get on the ladder early with wisdom. So, for example, somebody just talked about condo fees. So you need to think about that. So we have a small home in Leeds. So the other gentleman who was talking about London area, I never lived in London. For most of the time, I lived in the north of England. So we were in Yorkshire area, Leeds, Hull, that area. But I, of course, one did go to London a few times here and there. London is extremely expensive. And it's actually, I often say to people, if you come to the UK and you only stay in London, you haven't been to the UK, because London is totally, it's like going to Nigeria and you only know Lagos. That's not Nigeria, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Lagos life is unique to Lagos, and nowhere else in Nigeria is like Lagos. So it's almost the same thing with London. Outside of London, things are a bit different. So it's a whole different ball game if you want to stay in London. If you have very good reasons to, by all means. But otherwise, I don't see any advantage. I have a few friends there. I absolutely don't see any advantage of squeezing my life into London. It's too fast-paced for my liking anyway. So there are additional information that will guide getting onto the property ladder. But there's no harm, even if it's a small little 1.5 bedroom, like I call it, house for starters, to get on. Even in the UK, so we still have a property in the UK, just, because I have one leg in the UK still, right? I go there every year, sometimes several times, if not for Corona. You have to think about things like if you want to buy an ex-council flat, for example, because you will pay fees.
Yeah.
So we bought an ex-council flat in the UK somewhere, although we've paid off the mortgage 100%, but we still pay the council fee, the land fee, and that's been creeping up. In 6 years, it's gone from about £400 to about £700. So there are other layers of consideration. You're going to buy a freehold or a leasehold home, things like that. But still, it's a good target to aim to, like they say, put your leg inside. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Doctor. That was very life stages. No, we buy homes in the West according to life stages. Very, very important. So just ask Alex one. I've got you. Then I've got Dr. Kunle, and then we'll start to wind this down. We should be done by say in the next 10 minutes, right? We just have to wind it down. So I've got just ask Alex. Go for it, sir.
Okay. Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well, sir.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Kalu, and thank you for this wonderful platform.
Yeah, fine, sir.
Presently, I'm in Nigeria, and we are planning to come to Canada this year, me and my family, by the grace of God. So I just have two questions, and my question goes to the people living in Canada. The first question is, I'm married, just like I said, I got married in 2015. We had 2 sons. But I want to know, is it necessary? Is it a must of my wife, because she had a passport in her father's name? Is it a must for her to change, because the primary applicant is going to be her? So that's the plan, because.
But sir, don't need to interrupt. But that looks like an immigration question, more like I don't know if we have that expertise. So,
that's why I said it's directed to the people in Canada. I just wanted to know if it is a must for her to change her name to my family name, or we can just use same name as her father name for the process.
Does anyone have an answer real quick?
I'll just chip in quickly. Is it okay if I chip in quickly?
Yes.
Yeah, so you don't have to have the same last name as your spouse or common law partner in Canada or even in the UK. You just need to be able to prove that you are common law partners. That's all.
Excellent.
That's the short answer. Again, disclaimer.
Doctor. They don't go with husband and wife or Mr. They go with even partners. You can say it's my partner. They're not too into Mr. and Mrs. I know what I'm going to, but yeah.
So it does have to be a common law partner, and there's a definition for what a common law partner is. But that's what you need. You don't have to have the same. But actually, there are lots of people I know in Canada here who don't, among us, the healthcare professionals, who don't have the same name as their husbands, because the name with which they did their medical degree, they didn't want to change it. So they still retain their maiden names.
Correct.
So I think that's the short answer to that question.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, sir. So I've got Dr. Kunle and Loretta, and then we'll just gradually wind down to a close. Dr. Kunle, how are you, sir?
I am very well, and thanks for having me. Just a short thing. So I just want to focus on, the corporate environment. When you come in from Nigeria, one of the things that you have to learn is how to operate in a corporate environment. You have to watch how do you run meetings, how do you socialize, how do you build a network within where you work. It's extremely important because that will sort of form how you're framed, how you're perceived, and how your potential in the organization is perceived, and the type of opportunities that will open up for you. What I did was sort of look at those who do it well in the companies I've worked for and try and learn from them. And also to find a mentor. So you will have to be flexible to be able to do that right. But more importantly is not just finding mentors who are senior executive. Sometimes it's important to form a great relationship with your peers because you never know where they will end up. This is a much bigger economy than Nigeria, where you have just such a narrow set of companies you can work for. Build excellent relationships and invest in those relationships with your peers because they will be the ones when things come up will give you a call to say, hey, there's something out here. Because I've been through that. And I've also offered opportunities to my own friends in my own network.
Yeah.
Then secondarily, do not restrict yourself to just having a Nigerian community. There are great people out there that you meet in your workplace that you can form relationship with. That will be great mentors for you. That will open up doors for you. Just come in with a very open mind. Don't get stuck in that grievance speak that is in the media right now. Yes, some of that exists, but on average, there are great people out there looking for great people to connect with. And if you do find those connections, do leverage them, and things will work out. Now, the last thing I would say, just bear with me, is when you come in, there will be a learning curve you have to go through in terms of understanding how the environment works and how you can operate in that environment. That, depending on you, that might take some time. Do not be frustrated. Learn. Don't be frustrated because immediately you figure it out, you'll be shocked at the opportunities that will open up for you. So anybody who wants to immigrate, if that is your plan, put your heart into it. The opportunities, understand that it's a grind. But if you just put your heart to it, you put your face down and you work hard, make the right connections, you will find those breakthroughs. And I wish everyone the very best.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kunle. I think that was just a good way to just maybe put a cake on it, to say, listen, change your perception. It's not just about the dollars and the cents. Also change your perception. Go there with an open mind. It's a very organized society, and you don't have to be quote unquote buddies with people, but let people respect you and try to get the best you can from networks. Very, very important point. I've got Loretta back. Loretta, do you want to say anything before I start to do my wind up?
Before you begin to wind up, it's funny and interesting. I'm speaking right after Dr. Kunle. I would have held back to say I wouldn't speak anymore, but it literally just said what I wanted to say, because one of the reasons why, since I got to the US, I was a bit careful not to pick up a credit card was because of the people I met, the Nigerian elderly people I met. Plus, I'm a PhD student. I'm just soaked in my school work. I'm also working in the school, so I really have time to socialize. Plus COVID as well. So a couple of people around me, don't go for credit card. Just use your debit card. Don't go for credit card. Don't do that. It's this, it's that. So. I didn't have a lot of time to find out from other people, because I've been very busy, labs and all of that.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to, but hearing people talk this evening to say, you know what, ask people that meet other people, let them try to, enlighten them, sensitize them, share experiences with them. Because I have the experience, the feedback I got from the people around me is that, don't bother about credit card. You just my partner is actually on this space. I said, you know what, you need to listen to what Aja and other people have to say. So he's trying to convince me, get a credit card, start building. But it's interesting to see that a whole lot of people have very positive disposition about all this. So when you meet the younger ones like us, the newer versions of you in the States or wherever it is, please don't discourage us, because we're actually going to be treading on some of the paths you've treaded or you've passed through some of your pathways as well.
That's good.
I just want to say that. And thank you very much, Carlo. This is very good. Monday is public holiday. Tuesday, I'm going to Chase Bank. I'm getting my credit card. I'm starting to build an economy, a system, and thank you so very much.
Amen. Thank you, Loretta. That was wonderful to hear that. Thank you. And just to be clear, right, we've put a lot of caveats. Everyone that has spoken here has put a lot of caveats. Credit cards are very dangerous, but it is what it is. So get it and use it responsibly. Swipe it for your gas, pay back, keep it in one place. Don't abuse it. It can only help your credit score if you use it properly. So the last person to speak is going to be Hugo, because he was there for a while, and I'm just going to do a summary. Hugo, did you want to say anything, sir? Hugo.com. Going once, going twice. All right, guys. So we've spent, believe it or not, we've spent close to about 2 hours and 30 minutes, I believe, on this spaces. I want to thank everyone, the listeners, the contributors, for sharing. We do these spaces every Saturday by 8, and people just come up and I don't even plan for it, and people come and they share really, really deep introspection. This time, I wanted to really hear from the people that had done this and have succeeded in doing this. And I think we're very lucky to have SK, Dr. Abraham, Tochi, her husband, all come up here and say, this is how I did it, so we can learn. Remember, we want to learn from the experiences of others so that we make right choices. So that's basically all we're doing. And let me just do a summary of what we did from the beginning. We talked about how can you buy your first home. The first thing we said was, back in Nigeria, get your paperwork in order, get a paper trail. If you have an RSA, take the money from the RSA, pay to your bank with a check. So there's a paper trail going in. If you are selling your car or your house, collect a check, pay the check into your bank account. So there's a paper trail. You want to have a paper trail in Nigeria before you move. Then put the money into your DOM account, dollars into your DOM account. Don't carry cash because there's no paper trail, right? If you get to the US or the UK or wherever you are, try to open a bank account. You can open a bank account without being a legal resident in the US. Try to establish income and show proof of income. So even if you are being paid by your quote-unquote uncle, collect a check or let them do a deposit into your bank account so you have a paper trail of income that you can verify. Start to pay taxes. In the US, you can pay taxes even if you're not a legal immigrant. Pay taxes, get your name into that database, right? Then after 2 years of paying taxes, you have your bank account, you have your job with verifiable income, you've paid your taxes, and you have your tax returns. You can then apply for a first-time home buyer. And SK and Tochi and her husband and all rest have spoken about how it is done in various jurisdictions. So pick yours and then go with it. DK has sent me how to buy a home with his own experience. I've put it up on Twitter. I've put on Tochi and her husband's YouTube as well on the Twitter timeline. If you want to share anything, send it to me by DM and I'll put it on that trend so anyone can just go to that trend and they can see your experiences. So if you have any comments or any experiences you want to share on how you bought your house abroad, please send it to me via DM. I will attach it onto the trend and I'll put your mail just in case or your handle and all that. We're all learning, guys. And remember, in closing, we are buying a house because buying a home is the pathway to wealth. And in the US, that's the reason why we had redlining, because they didn't want Black people to buy homes. So the more we know, we have to share it out so that more of us can help all of us to succeed. So at this point, after being kicked off by Twitter for 3 times, I'm going to shut down the house now, and I appreciate everyone that has spoken. Lexi, Loretta, Tochi, Deji, Dr. Kunle, Dr. Abraham, everyone. Authority, I see you listening. You didn't ask a question, so you owe me, sir. All right, thank you so much, guys. I appreciate all of you. Have a good day. Enjoy your weekend. Happy Martin Luther King Day on Monday. Bye to everyone. God bless.